Hello, it's Dominique. It is July 13th, 2025. I am recording this video to kind of go over how to apartment search, go over some things that helped me when I was trying to find stable housing for my children and I. I hope that at the end of this presentation, you will find some of the information useful, be able to put some of these things into practice. A lot of these things you may know, some of it may be new information. If there's anything else that you may need assistance with, or have questions with, or have any other ideas, please feel free to let me know. So let's just jump right into it. How to apartment search. That's the start of it. Next, questions to think about when you're looking for apartments. Where do you want to live? Think about town. Do you have a current support system in a specific town? Think of friends, family, caseworkers, people who you know are going to be able to assist you. Doesn't need to be on a bus route. Some people don't like to drive, some people don't have the means to have a car. It just might not be practical. Do you need How many bedrooms do you need? What is within your budget? Whether you're getting home base, whether you're going to have Section 8, whether you're paying full market rent on your own. What is your budget? Do you have all your needed paperwork to apply for an apartment? And we'll kind of go over those things in a minute. So these are just some example questions to think about, some kickstarters. Obviously, these are not like all the things to consider when you are applying for apartments, whether you're looking for stable housing from being homeless, or you're looking for a newer place, looking for a different location. Take all of those things into consideration, but these are things I had to think about when I was finding stable housing for myself and my children. Okay, in terms of needed documentations, what are some things that you should have? So, birth certificates for all household members, social security cards, income verifications. Income verifications can be things such as DTA, cash assistance, food stamps. They don't really worry about food stamps because food stamps can't be counted towards like your rent. You can't use that for cash stuff. SSI, SSDI, um, pay stubs. If you get paid every week, you're going to want to have your four most recent pay stubs. If you get paid every 2 weeks, you're going to want to have at least the two most recent pay stubs. ESA paperwork, emotional support animal. So there's a difference between an ESA animal pet and pet for other means like medical reasons. So um, pets for medical reasons are dogs that like or who sniff up for allergies. Um, while eye seeing dogs, dogs who sniff and sense for diabetic concerns, dogs for seizures. Those are um, one category, and ESA is a different category. So, um, from my knowledge, landlords and stuff can deny for an emotional support animal. However, it's harder for them to deny the medical reasons for pets, such as like the sensitivity for gluten or other allergies or seizures or icing dog or for glucose monitoring. Either way, whatever kind of animal you have, um, ESA or medical service dog, have all of your documentation for said dog or pet or cat um, available. Things such as medical paperwork from your um, doctor, the training the pet has had, um, make sure they're up to date on all their vaccines. You have their vet's information. Um, if they're a dog, I know a lot of dogs have to be registered with the town that they're in. Rabies shots. Make sure you have all of that kind of paperwork together. State IDs for all adults, passports if you have them, previous rental history, have I've seen it go back as far as 7 years, so make sure you have 7 years worth of rental history. If you are currently homeless, make sure you have a letter of verification from the homeless shelter you're in. And those letters are very generic, but it's normally on the letterhead of the agency that the homeless shelter is under. It simply needs to simply state things such as the date of entry into the shelter, the list of individuals within your household with their date of births, um, all of that. Bank statements. Make sure you have the next at least 30 to 90 days worth of bank statements. I know a lot of times we may not get those mailed to us, but if we are in our bank apps, we can at least take screenshots of those and send it to our emails. References, landlord references primarily is what they're looking for. If you do own a car, they're gonna want some vehicle information as well, so make sure you have the year, make, and model like of your car, proof of insurance for your car, all of those things. Make sure it's up to date on the inspection sticker. Um, a lot of landlords, they want to make sure that when you are having a vehicle on the property that it's all accounted for. So those are just some things to keep in mind for some documents. You may need more documents, but these are at least the basics that I tried to have with me when I was homeless. And what I did with these verifications, especially like the birth certificate, social security cards, state IDs, vehicle information, and references, when it came to those, I made like 10 copies of each of those because those things don't change um, unless your state ID expires, but that's every 5 years. I had like 10 copies of all of those. When it came to income verifications, I only would keep like 3 copies of each. And I say that I only kept 3 because, you know, every time there was a new pay cycle, I would have to reprint out a couple of new ones. So if I knew on any given week I was going to mail out 3 housing applications, I would make sure I have 3 of my most recent income verifications. Also, if you've had like a DTA cash assistance recertification, your income may have changed, so always keep that into account. If you're an individual who struggles with keeping things in order, like together, a physical copy of it, I would recommend having like a file on your mobile phone of pictures of all of these documents, pictures or screenshots of them in a mobile folder. Have them like emailed to yourself or whatever system best works for you. So then that way, if and when you need more copies or you want to send it in, maybe a caseworker or someone can print it out for you, or you can print it out at a library. But just make sure you have a copy of them and they're always up to date as much as possible. So that covers it for documents. Low income apartment help, ideal next home. So you'll see there are 3 items labeled on this slide. The first one is low income lottery, low income housing. Generally, they have a small amount of apartments, short time limit to apply. It may not be in the town that you want and or need. Now, I know for me, there when I was homeless, there were some lottery low income apartments that I could have applied to, but for me, there were 2 different lotteries, and for me, those 2 towns were too far out of my they were too risky for me to apply for and getting it because it was so far away from my support system. It would have done more harm, especially if there was no guarantee of me getting the apartment. So for me personally, I declined to apply for any low income housing that was lottery. Um, I did not do that. Um, Next, there's CHAMP. The CHAMP allows you to apply to low income apartments in various towns and cities, and that's done online. And with this, I would recommend making sure this is up to date as much as possible. Um, so every time there's a change in income, you can update that. You can apply to multiple housing authorities at once, which is really great. Um, and there's a lot of times they will update your information and send you notices via the online portal. So if you're in a situation where you can't get your mail reliably, you can at least check the website and you can print out and submit any documents that you need right to the website, which is great. Section 8. Section 8 voucher, a lot of people are familiar with this. The biggest con is that it's a very long wait list. Um, the rent, however, will always be 30% of your income. You have to recertify for that every year, I believe, and most landlords will take this voucher. When it comes to CHAMP, you do recertify um, every year or so, and I do. Um, they're both very similar, but this one happens a lot faster than the Section 8 vouchers. With CHAMP, if you are homeless, if you're so say you are currently in a homeless shelter in Springfield, and you're on the Springfield CHAMP low income housing, you will be considered a priority. You'll change it up a higher priority than some others on the waiting list who have stable housing. So make sure if your status changed from stable housing to homeless, make sure you update that. It's very important to keep this updated. Um, Next, so always know what your ideal home is. So for me, when I was finding stable housing, I knew exactly what I wanted. This is an example of what my ideal home was. I wanted it to be on the first floor, a 3 bedroom, a bedroom for myself and each of my children. I wanted it in West Springfield, utilities included, on a bus route, off street parking, and near a grocery store. Even though I had a car when I was homeless, I knew that if anything ever happened to my car and I couldn't maintain a car anymore, I wanted it to hopefully be able to at least get a job that was on a bus route or within walking distance. Um, so just know what your ideal home is. Write that out and make sure you reference it um, on a regular basis when you're looking. So compromise. Is there room to do so? Is a second or third floor possible? Will on-street parking be okay? So those are some things you have to sit there and think about. Write your ideal home. What we ideally want may not necessarily be available, and we may have to compromise. So for me, I knew that I was willing to move to another town for a low-income apartment via Section 8 or CHAMP. And I was also willing to take something that was not on the first floor. So just kind of think about some things that you can and cannot compromise on. Next, track your housing applications. Have a notebook. Write down where you applied to, the date, the information, the contact information of the property management, any other notes that you want to keep. If they say follow up in 2 weeks, follow up in 2 weeks. If they say they're going to follow back up with you in 1 week and they don't, follow up with them by the end of that business day. Track your housing applications. You don't want to lose track of that information, and keep it as organized as possible. This definitely helped me at least follow up from places that I didn't hear from. Okay, what to ask about the apartment? Are there utilities included? Is there a pet fee? Some do require a pet fee because pets can cause some damage. Some landlords may require you to have renter's insurance for having a pet. In my experience, most landlords want you to have renter's insurance regardless. Um, is there lead paint? If you have a children under 5, you cannot have an apartment with lead paint. They need to have the house lead tested and provide proof of that. If you have children under 5, is there laundry on site? Is that something that's important for you? For me, it would have been ideal if I had laundry on site, but it definitely was not a deal breaker. If I had to go to the laundromat, I definitely was okay with doing laundry on site or at the laundromat. Does the apartment come with appliances? This is an important thing. So when you're looking into apartments, if it does not come with a stove and a refrigerator, that is something you need to know beforehand versus getting there and it does not come with it. If it does not come with a stove and refrigerator primarily, that's something you are responsible for obtaining yourself. With that though, you are then able to move, like when you move on to your next living situation, you're able to take that stove and refrigerator with you. If the housing apartment comes with a stove and a refrigerator and the stove and the refrigerator breaks down for whatever reason, it is the landlord's responsibility to fix it. If it does not come with said appliances and you purchased your own, then you are responsible for replacing those appliances. Requesting a tour. Many will have like an open house, but you can definitely request a tour because sometimes pictures can be very deceiving. When you're looking for, when you're going for a tour, look, is there a secure entrance? Are the common areas well lit? Is the carpet clean? Working locks on the windows? Do all doors, drawers, everything work the way they should? Is there any odd smells like mildewy? Is there any peeling paint? Um, how many outlets are there? Are you a person who feels like you may need a lot? Are there lights in the ceiling? Are you going to need a lot of extra seats? Um, all those kind of things. These are just some things to look for. These 8 questions, though, I found if you're going to be getting home based funds, they do have to do kind of like an inspection. And so a lot of these things are um, on that list to be able to qualify for it, make sure it's passed for home base inspections. And a lot of those things will probably be the same for Section 8 as well. So keep those things in mind. If you have any concerns and these things are not in working order, see if the landlord is going to be working on those things because a lot of times they are, especially if they're just trying to make sure they're securing it for the next month and they're working on things. A lot of times they will tell you what's being updated, or you'll be able to smell like, oh, that's fresh paint or whatnot. Um, Things like that. And that wraps up our um, video about apartment searching. You can feel free to stay in touch, join our Facebook group. And I hope this helps. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to let me know. I look forward to answering any questions that come up. Take care until